doing tonight?
How's it going?
Doing great.
Well, hello, everybody. We are here tonight just to kind of talk about Kickstarter and making comics. David has a campaign running right now that is Super Kaiju Rock and Roller Derby Fun Time Go. We've got 5 days left on the campaign. That's going to be ending on Tuesday. We do have a giveaway, another giveaway to do at the end of the show today. Your interior artist Rolo does these awesome sketch cards. They are available on the campaign in 2 different tiers. So today at the end, all you got to do is comment on the stream, add to your pledge if you're already a backer, or pledge for the first time, and you're going to get entered in to win a sketch card.
Yeah, these are going to be on limited edition backing boards too. So each of the cards are limited to like 25. So the front will have a cool image of one of the girls from the band, and then the other side will have the original art from Rolo. So hopefully it's a cool piece people like.
Yeah, it's cool.
And then Pat Shand of Kickstarter notoriety has Wild Wisps #1. You've got about 2 weeks left of that campaign. You're already at $34,000, so congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So you've done a lot of Kickstarters. You have 34 created. So how long ago did you do your first campaign?
First campaign was in September 2016. So
Okay.
We're getting close to, year and a half, but the 10-year anniversary, and I have this line and I have my Cheeky Comics line. So all together, I think Wild Wisps is number 52.
Holy crap. Yeah, I think I'm somewhere in the range of in the 30s. I had my first one. I didn't create it, but White Widow #1 was the first campaign that I worked on. I did the fulfillment, and then I've pretty much been on Kickstarter ever since 2018.
Yeah, it's the place to be. I 4 years I was doing my own thing. I was a staff writer at Zenoscope, then freelance. So I got a good sense of playing different roles in the comics industry. And as far as getting your book into readers' hands and forging a direct relationship with readers, Kickstarter for me has been by far the best.
Yeah, they also have, there's such a wide fan base of people that will just go through and like peruse projects. And then Kickstarter is also really great about promoting, like if you get up on that front page, it's always super exciting when it loads in. It's right there.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. And I love how, they provide these paths for people to find you on every possible angle. If you are looking at a campaign, the bottom bar shows other campaigns. If you send an update, the email itself has little campaign squares just highlighted. There's so many ways that they create this connective network in there.
Yeah, I absolutely love Kickstarter. I'm not nowhere near you guys. I've done several campaigns for other people, but this is my first campaign for myself. And the thing that I love about Kickstarter as a distribution platform, and that's how I look at it, is Kickstarter as a distribution platform, right? Is that direct contact, just like this sort of thing, there's that direct contact, that one-to-one contact with the end consumer, the person who's actually reading the book that I wrote. I can talk to them directly. Like they can jump on and post a comment on Kickstarter, and I'm going to see it, right? Or I have the ability to create like a really cool high-end metal foil raised poster, right? That's giant. And if somebody wants it, I can make that for them, or I can do signed copies, or I can do sketch cards, all this stuff that you can't do in the more traditional forms of distribution. Like if I wanted to try to give this book to somebody in a comic book shop, there's so many different people in between me and the person that buys it in the comic book shop, if they even find it there, that I'm never going to hear from that person. But Kickstarter is completely different, right? It's like direct to consumer, direct one-to-one contact. And man, what a cool platform for being able to just talk to the people who are interested in your stuff.
Well, it's really personal too. Like I love being able to get on and like answer people's questions directly. Like it kind of takes the like corporate feel out of selling a product, which when it comes down to it, it is a product, but it's something that we're all like super passionate about, and we have like our hearts and souls in these books. And so being able to like tell someone, answer a question and say like, hey, thank you so much for supporting this. Like you really like, you matter to me. And it's just cool to be able to like tell people that.
Oh, I agree for sure. And I feel like it's growing over time. There's one of the books that I've been doing for a long time, Destiny New York, I licensed that to Black Mask Studios for single issues while I published the trades. And I'm ahead. I have 5-6 volumes in trade, and they have about 13 issues. And in the past, I would go to conventions, and most of the people that I would see were the single issue readers who knew me from comic shops. They would see the trades and be confused. They would wonder how the trades are so far ahead of singles. And I was hearing that all the time. This year, I've been hearing the opposite. Almost every convention I go to, the people who recognize me most are Kickstarter backers. So we're seeing Kickstarter become more and more of a normal thing for not only us as creators and the community, but also the readers.
Yeah. So, Pat, what is your process for creation? Are you responsible for writing all 52 of these books that you've put out, or these 52 projects, or do you have other writers? What's the system over there?
Mostly responsible. I do. There were a few that I have co-written. So, for example, I did Mixed Magical Martial Arts with Bob and Kevin Cuff from Metal Shark Bro. And right now I'm doing Vix the Hunter with Jeff Massey, who is a writer that I brought in initially at Zenescope. He did their Oz books and did a great job. So I brought him in to co-write Vix. And I have a new imprint coming up later this year called Dark Veil, which is a more co-written fully deal where we have a writer's room. I have writers doing the first drafts of the script, and then I go over and do my rewrites over them. But beyond Dark Veil and those two titles, for a large part, I've been writing most of those.
That must be really satisfying and fulfilling that you're able to get all that material out there and sort of be in control of it yourself.
Oh, for sure. I for so long I was pitching ideas to publishers, and I mean, number one, obviously, slates are small and they're far in advance, so getting things picked up is the first struggle, and then the other struggle that was hitting me kind of hard that pushed me toward this was the idea that long form comics are not the norm anymore. When I began to read and really enjoy comics, I was gravitating toward these long indie runs. Preacher, Why the Last Man, Ex Machina. You saw creators really going the distance with an idea.
Yeah.
And almost every idea that I pitched, I had some miniseries, but my hope was that if a miniseries took off, we stay with it, and that seemed to be less and less common with traditional publishing. So when I moved to Kickstarter and saw my first campaign get success, my thought was, I'm gonna work this. I'll do my miniseries and one shots for sure, but this is how I get my long run. This is how I can communicate with readers and build over time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, you probably don't remember, but you and I went to lunch, I think.
I remember.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Years back, when I was editor-in-chief over at IDW. Maybe I was associate publisher. I can't remember which. But yeah, that exact thing, that was always the struggle. Like, as the editor-in-chief of a big publishing company, like, I wanted to do creator-owned stuff, right? I wanted to be able to go to a creator and say, hey, yeah, we can totally do 24 issues of this thing, right? But the reality of that is, like, man, we can't. There's no the mechanisms to do that in traditional publishing and traditional distribution for comic books. It's just the risk is way too high, and you can't make those guarantees. The best you can do is guarantee maybe 4 issues, 5 issues at most.
Sure.
So yeah, it's Kickstarter is definitely different, right? For that, like, it's I guess the barrier to entry and the safety net underneath Kickstarter is just so much more, because right out of the gate, like, okay, I can do this because this is what I said I needed and I got it. So now it's up to me to actually produce that and put it out. I love that. I think it's great.
I was wondering if you remember that too, because
yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome, because IDW was my first ever gig. So being able to go and see the office, that was the first office other than Zenescope, because I worked there. But when I moved to San Diego, I had only really I did a 2-page Angel short for IDW, and then I did a one shot or two for Big Dog Inc., and then I was picked up by Zenescope to be exclusive. So for years I was there. I wasn't traveling around. I wasn't really meeting editors. So I met with you and toured the office, and that to me was so cool to see the place that pretty much got me my start, and
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, no, it was so sick. And yeah, that's cool that you remember that.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you left a great impression. I even remember where we went to eat.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, I always enjoy I even now I love talking to creative minds and learning how people like you are thinking about the industry and thinking about story and what your interests are. It's always super rewarding to have those conversations. I don't know. I you hear people in the industry, like when they go to comic conventions and talk about like, oh, I got to do the portfolio review type stuff. And they kind of moan and sort of like, be frustrated by it. But that's never been my experience. I love being able to see like new things, even when somebody's not, fully formed or ready to go. There's always something that you can take away from somebody, from the very start to polished people like you or Bart Sears or anybody in between. I always feel like I'm learning something new in comic books, and I love that about the medium. I think that's what keeps me interested and invested in it for as long as I have been.
Yeah, it's fun, that I agree entirely. I've had so many moments too where so many publishers are locked into a certain kind of style that I've had artists come up to me and show me their portfolio and express how they're getting rejected over and over again. And I expect to see a portfolio that I can really comment on and say, oh, you go work on this, and this. But there have been a few times where I'll look at the work and be like, oh, you're ready. It's just that your style is so unique that it's more of an indie thing. Like you're going for like publishers that have a house style, but you will succeed incredibly in indie.
Yeah, somebody who comes to mind like that is I think Ryan Lee. He did a book at IDW. What was it called? Oh shoot, it's Mountain. The word mountain was in the title. Anyway, such an incredible artist, incredibly beautiful work, super detailed, and just love his stuff. And I don't know. I'm sure at some point he will be working at one of the big two, but he's better than most of the artists in the big two right now, but he's not working in that house style. He's got his own unique, distinct flavor. And I'm so glad that he seems to be understanding of that and pursuing his career in a manner that makes a lot of sense. Mountainhead. Thank you, Blake. Yeah. It's funny that you say, long runs is like long indie runs is what got you into, because my all-time favorite comic book of all time is Poison Elves, which started out as like a self-published book, and he did like 20. Drew Hayes was the artist and writer. He did 20 issues of that, and then he moved over to Sirius Entertainment back in the late 90s or early 2000s when they had all the distributor wars and all that shakeup, and he did another 80 issues over there. So I've got this. Sadly, he passed away in the mid 2000s, so we never got more than that. But it's so great to have 100 issues, of a book by this one super dedicated, super hardcore talent. I love that. I too am just like that's the thing that got me into comic book. That's the thing that that's one of the things that made me like, this is what I'm going to do for a living. Like if Drew Hayes can do it and do it at that level, that's my standard. That's the goal. I'm going to do that too.
The thing that I find really interesting about, the change from having ongoing stories versus everything being a miniseries is that like one of the reasons that number ones are so valuable is because you're hoping that they turn around and become this well sought after thing because the series goes on and becomes so popular. But if you're only doing a miniseries that's 5 or 6 issues, like how is that number one ever going to take off when the story is just kind of like ends? No,
it's true. I agree entirely. There's definitely there's a satisfaction in doing a one shot for sure, just telling the story and moving on. But when you look back 10 years later at a body of work, I can't imagine something that feels better than that.
So what's your longest running project, Pat?
Right now, it's Destiny New York.
Okay.
Until recently, it was a few Zenescope books. I did 39 issues on their Robin Hood, and they're actually on 100 now, which is crazy. But I did 39 there, and then I did one Van Helsing run years ago, and then came back to it for Zenescope recently, and now we've eclipsed that. But Destiny New York, it comes out in graphic novels. But if we broke it up into single issues, I would be heading toward the high 40s now.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's great.
Thank you.
So are you building those? So when you're building the graphic novels, are you thinking graphic novel first?
Yeah.
And then do you break it up into chapters that are roughly 20 to 24 pages chapters, or?
I mean, Black Mask would love it if I did that. Yeah, we've had to figure out some weird breaks for the single issues. But what I have done is there are chapters. The length dramatically varies. I've done as low as 11 pages per chapter, and I've gone as high as like 45. I really just kind of cut loose and do it based on what feels right for it. And yeah, it's become an issue with the licensing of it and breaking it up into singles, because the price of printing, a 48 pager obviously is so much higher than a 22 pager.
Yeah.
But I've also told myself that this was what I was doing first. First, a real pull of doing the graphic novel was that I don't have to do that. So now that they license it and I'm going through the struggle of breaking it up, I definitely tell myself, don't let this influence what you're doing as you're still writing. Don't adjust to them. They adjust to you,
I've been doing a lot of graphic novel work and consulting for a big board game company called Come On Games. And so we've been building, the comic book stuff that they do is all graphic novels. And I love working with them. They're a fantastic company. They make amazing board games. Some of the Marvel United stuff, Death May Die, what else? Zombie Side. Like they just do amazing board games. And so I've been very fortunate to be able to help them build a bunch of comic books, and they always want to do graphic novels as well. And so it's, for me, in my head, making comic books for 20 years, I'm like, okay, let's make graphic novels, but we're going to break them up into 20 to 24 page chapters.
Yeah.
So I've been struggling with that with my writing teams as well. As like, okay, I say the same thing, I think, Pat, that you're telling yourself, which is like, okay, the first master is the graphic novel, right? Like, right. If we can break it up into like a satisfying chunk that fits into a standard comic book in some way, should fantastic, and let's try to do that. But let's not break the story because of that, right? Because 100%. The graphic novel is the thing. So yeah, I've been running into that a little bit too. With the Super Kaiju, I think like I've broken it up into chapters. So I've got the first 4 books already mapped out, done. 3 of the 4 scripts are already done. The 4 scripts pretty much halfway done. And Rolo is fully committed to doing those first 4 books. And for whatever reason, I just write in 20 to 24 page chunks. Like it just, the way my beats work, I think it's just because I've done it so long. For sure. So I've been fortunate that I haven't, as a writer, I haven't run into that struggle yet.
The Zongbros art is so crazy. I've worked with them on covers so far, not interiors yet. That style is out of this world.
Well, I'm trying to, I can't talk about it on this stream, but
not yet.
Yeah, I love the Zong brothers. Those guys are amazing. Krishna and his brother are really, really kind people as well, and I really enjoy working with good people who also happen to be talented. It's been a real pleasure. Can't say enough good things about those guys. And Rolo's the same way. Rolo's just this incredible artist who I couldn't believe he was even available when he said he was, and feel very fortunate, and just one of the nicest guys around.
It's great stuff.
BMD nerd, do it. We are just in case you guys just tuned in. We're doing a drawing at the end of the stream. If you comment during the stream, which you just did, or add to your pledge if you're already a backer, or pledge to the campaign for the first time, you're going to get entered in for a head sketch by Rolo, who he was just talking about, his super awesome interior artist.
One promise I can make, BMD nerd, is that every single issue, one of the girls will be in roller skates. That I guarantee.
Yeah, I have for my series. So I'm kind of the opposite of you guys. Like I do prefer graphic novels when it comes to like actually reading reading comics myself. But everything that I do is always like a single issue format first to lead up to a graphic novel. Which as a brand new creator with very limited funds it's really just the only way, you know. And we were talking before about how like Kickstarter helps us to be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to make comics at all probably if it wasn't for the platform. But I don't know. When I wrote my first issue, there's a lot of lead up to this witch villain that is going to be throughout the whole series, but you don't actually see her in issue number 1, which I didn't intend initially. It just kind of like ended up that way. I'm still really happy with it, but it's one of those things that the story has to lead itself, you know? And it was one of those situations where it's like, I really would like for her to be here, but it just doesn't make sense. But I'm excited. We're in full production on that right now. And I can't wait to see her.
Yeah. Congrats on getting that funded, Murphy. That's great.
Thank you.
So, Pat, what is the new project about? The one that we're talking about here.
Oh, sure, yeah. Wild Wisps. It's a world where we have both humans and these creatures who share the world. The creatures serve as companions to them. Some have household powers, like they can, they're load bearing. They can clean things with their water elemental powers. And then you have creatures who have these powers that are more suited for war. And we have these 2 warring kingdoms in this high fantasy world. And we follow this soldier, Kino, as he and his wisp, Tonkarex, join this army. And what we learn early on is that he's joining it with the intent of revenge on the person who leads the side of the army that he's on. So he harbors this secret, and he brings his wisp, who has a special power that we reveal in the book. And it follows his journey of revenge and redemption. And we meet a bunch of other characters who have wisps, who are kind of like, they're a mixture of a witch's familiar, a Pokemon, an animal. And we sort of lean into the idea of the bond between animal and human, creature and human.
I love this character design here. That is just so it's creepy and cute simultaneously. Well done on that.
Oh, thanks. That cover is Matteo Leone, who is the ongoing artist of Destiny New York, and the design of that is Rio Burton, who is my co-creator on As of the Barbed. So I'm bringing a lot of my favorite collaborators in on here to both design the characters and to do cover work.
Pat, I looking at all your campaigns and looking at the stuff you do, you've always got really good art, and that's not always a talent that a writer necessarily. Not all writers have an eye for artistic talent. How do you think obviously you have that eye, and how do you think you develop that?
Developing it is for sure key. There are writers who I'm working with who that's my biggest note is that, it's a learned thing, and you learn by seeing what goes wrong, what goes out of hand, and just over time working with other people who do have the eye. My biggest note is to develop that, So for me, it happened at Zenoscope. I will look back at my early emails, and I will see that I suggest artists to Ralph Tedesco or Joe Bruscia at Zenoscope. And I look at the artists now, and they aren't nearly ready yet. And they handled me so nicely, saying, hey, cool, but not quite ready for us yet. And now I see it, back then I didn't. But over time, working with Ralph and Joe and working with so many artists, I've been able to just see what works and what doesn't. And just learn how certain artists are best for covers, and some can do interiors, and how with interiors, the movement of the action, the way that the characters act, that sort of element of the artist making the scene feel alive and feel real. It's hard to teach, you know. It's hard to pull out every moment that makes it work and makes it gel. So it's a time thing, you know. It's working, doing a lot of hard work and time.
There's also the aspect of, you know, if you're in an art director position, when you like the first time you feel like you have to give someone a note, you kind of like, oh, I love it, but oh yeah, it's like once you've done it a few times, like you realize like most artists are happy to get the feedback, because more than anything they want it to look great. It's the biggest thing. If you're giving feedback, that one of the things I think I see most often, especially with like pinup art, is a head that's not proportioned to the body. So it's like the head will be too small. And there's been a handful of times I'll say like, we'll just make the head like 10% bigger, and they'll be like, I don't know, and just do a quick little Photoshop edit, and it's like, oh wow, no, that actually makes a huge difference.
100%. That's a note that I give very frequently. And you know, as far as the time and experience thing goes, when you're giving feedback to artists over a long period of time, especially if you're working on both interiors and covers, you're going to experience everything. You're going to experience artists who are eager to do the changes, artists who are angry but do it anyway, and artists who just won't do it, you know? So any possible answer that you'll get, in time you'll get it. So you'll be over time seasoned by all this.
So yeah, that's interesting. That's another interesting thing about Kickstarter, right, Pat, is that you're not just the writer anymore. You're the writer, you're the editor, you're the art director, you're editing the graphic design, you're the publisher, you're out there, like you're doing so it's not just like, hey, I need to know how to write scripts. Like, hey, I need to know how to write a script. Hey, I need to know how to direct an artist. Hey, I need to know who the printers are in the United States for me to get high quality printing at a low price. Like, it is so I guess as much as I love Kickstarter, it definitely is not for the weak of heart, right? Like, there's a lot to it. It is a lot of work, right?
For sure. Yeah.
I think I take for granted sometimes. I have this, like, I've been working in the industry, for those who don't know, I've been working in the industry for almost working professional the whole time. And I think sometimes I have this like imposter syndrome and I think a lot of comic book creative people have this. The only way you have to be in comic books is just make a comic book. Like, take a piece of paper, draw on it, put some words on it, fold it in half, staple it, and you're a comic book creator, as far as I'm concerned. But as a working professional, I feel like I'm like, oh, there's something else I'm supposed to have done in order to have made it. Like, I've been working literally professionally for 20 years, and I'm still waiting to make it in the industry somehow. But that's not real. But anyway, so I forget sometimes like how much I actually know, and how like, oh, all of these steps that to me are sort of baked into my brain. And so I look at Kickstarter, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is perfect for me, right? Like, this is so easy. It's not necessarily the case for everybody. Not to say that I literally truly believe that anybody can do it if they put their heart and put enough work into it. But it's interesting to, I don't know, I think I lost a thread on that. It's interesting to think about all the things that you actually have to know, Pat. You in particular, with 52, campaigns under your belt, that's not just 52 scripts you wrote, that's 52 books that you project managed all the way through to the end and got out. And that's just making the book. Then there's the logistics of shipping and all the extra add-ons and stretch goals and things like that. It's quite a bit of work, but
it's so much.
But fulfilling, right? I'm having a ball on this Kickstarter.
No, it's great. I until about April of last year, every single package that I shipped was by my hands. I never hired out for fulfillment. I always did it myself. And then I hit this one campaign, Cheeky, that was by far my biggest. It was $100,000. And at that same time, I decided to ramp up production. So we went from the most campaigns I've ever done in a year, from being 5 or 6 to last year we did, I think, maybe 20 or something like that. And then this year we're going to do about 35. So I brought on a team of my friends, some family, and I'm paying them. We're building this company and family together. And I have them doing packing shifts every week that I'm a part of. And it's pretty endless. We have some months where 3 or 4 books come in, and we got to get those out.
I watched the video that you had shared recently of the new team and everyone there like packing orders together, getting stuff organized, and like everyone just looked like they were so happy to be there and like just excited about whatever book they had in their hand. Like it was really like that's goals for like when you're making indie comics. You don't want to just be a team of one. You want to be a team of many that are all passionate about what they're doing, and it looks like you guys really have that over there.
Yeah, it's fun, and it's a great mixture of fun and family and business. I mean, today I've been yelling at them all day, because you got to be the boss still. You have to make fun. And there's just a lot going on right now. Like we're doing back-to-back conventions these past 2 weeks, and we're wrapping up at the same time. We were sending 4 Kickstarters, and it's extremely chaotic, but I've been able to pair with them to turn what I was doing as a creator into a company, and it's been really fun.
Well, congratulations, Pat. That's incredible, man. As you seem to be ramping up, I'm definitely going the opposite direction. I'm definitely like, I've got 2 projects. I'm like, that's what I'm gonna do.
The book looks great.
Just do these things, and I don't think I can handle much more.
Clearly you're doing a great job. The book looks great. The campaign's so well put together.
Yeah, Murphey had a lot to do with that part, but thank you. Yeah, the artists. I'm so, I'm fortunate that I know a lot of really cool people in the comic book industry. People like Bart Sears that covers so great, and Ron and Chris Cross and all these guys who, at one point or another, I was massive fans of all these people. So it's been really great. I'm gratifying, and I'm very grateful that they've all signed up and done work. So much cool stuff.
That's beautiful.
Like Paul Pelletier, like Ed Bennis, like this guy works on Justice League. Like
that's sick.
I can't believe he's doing a cover for us.
Amazing.
So Pat, how many artists are you said you're doing 30 different campaigns. So how many art teams are you running with that many projects?
A lot,
Yeah.
There's definitely some crossover. Like for example, my ongoing series are Destiny New York. I have Matteo Leone. We have Wild Wisps, which is brand new. We have Nebetsi Zitro is on that. Smoke We See the Future is a spinoff of Destiny New York that's also ongoing. That is Elena Armanetti. And then the 4th ongoing is the Cheeky Comics Spicy ongoing, which is called Private Dance. And that's done by Yishan Lee. So those are the teams that are always working. And then I have artists who they're booked for long-term gigs, like on Only Friends with Pen. We have Manos Lagovardos. He is going to move from that to Countless Little Deaths to eventually take over Destiny New York. So we have a lot of moving pieces as far as that goes. We have Digital First Shorts, and it's a lot. And besides the Destiny New York stuff and all the spinoffs, all of those, the Destiny is all graphic novels, but all the rest are all single issues, and we're doing, about between 8 to 11 covers for all those. So it's just a lot. Like we just saw called out in chat, Othala M is an amazing cover artist. She has an ongoing deal with us on covers where she does a Cheeky Comics cover every month, and there's a lot to handle for that kind of stuff.
I actually do have a question. What are your feelings about the digital comics and kind of, obviously Comixology used to be like the spot, and then they kind of just destroyed their own system. Global Comics is one that's been kind of up and coming slowly over the years. But there's a huge, fan base on Kickstarter that just goes out and just goes for the digital.
Oh yeah. I mean, I haven't come near to seeing a platform outside of Kickstarter for digital that would be able to match what the digital does on Kickstarter. And that's just, I mean, it's the easiest thing in the world. I send the link to the PDF and they have it, no platform, no uploading, no formatting, no talking to people, which is great for me. It's great, and plus there's ways that you can reward the digital backer when they are really into the book. Like on those other platforms, you upload the book and that's what it is. For my campaigns, I do a digital, which is the book, and then digital deluxe, which has a cover gallery, every cover. And then I also include all the images from stretch goals in there as well. And usually it is double the price of the digital, and it has double or more of the content. And the amount of people that get that and are interested in that, they would, I mean, it outsells the standard digital by far, but not even close.
That's interesting. I need to figure that out. I really want, I'm old school. I really want people to have the physical book in their hands, the Super Kaiju Rock and Roller Derby on time code, because I really just I want to make that beautiful package for them. Like, it's going to be hardcover, it's going to have a dust jacket, there's going to be a spot varnish on it, it's like super deluxe paper. I haven't told anybody, but it's going to be oversized. It's like going to be a slightly larger format so people can really see the art. Don't tell anybody, because that's supposed to be a surprise. But I'm doing but I'm doing all these things for the print copy, and I want people to like see that, have that print physical experience, like the full experience. So, but I don't also at the same time, I don't want to not share like, I understand that some people just want the digital, and I've really struggled with like, how do I marry those two? I like this idea of like, okay, well, if they really want it and you really want to give them all the bells and whistles, maybe it is okay to charge a little bit more. I hadn't thought about that. That's a good idea.
This is a BND nerd. I tend to buy digital until I'm sure I really like it, and after then buy the physical. I say that with a lot of people. I'm Pat. You're on here having backed 456 projects. There are a ton of people on the platform that are have the super backer tag that are back. And I know a lot of those people, like, they'll say like, okay, I like this, but I'm not like completely sold on it. And if you've got a great book like you guys both do, if you get them on that digital pledge on the first issue, there's a good chance you're going to get them on that physical pledge for the second issue.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. That's why it's important too to offer catch up. I always say one of the biggest bits of advice that I give writers is, I see that they're doing these tight print runs. It's just like, hey, look at how much your number one sold, and imagine that number two has people interested in catching up, because of course it will. Print for that, So I always say, make sure you have enough that you don't have to go back to print on your second issue. There's a lot worse.
It gets expensive, right? Like if you're having to go back to a full print. So how much do you usually overprint then, Pat?
About 4 times usually.
Oh, 4x, really? Oh, yeah. Wow.
That's saying if it's a 3-issue series. Because then I assume that I'll be able to just sell number one at cons. It's a great way to try a series out. And even people who are eventually going to just go for the trade, they might try it with a number one. For a number two, I wouldn't do the same though. For number two, I would look at my remaining stock of number one, and I would make sure to obviously not go above that, because people are going to want both. I would just look at how the series did on number two and what the growth was, and just try to envision what number three would be, and just to print in a way where I have a bit more than I would need for the third Kickstarter.
Yeah, that's like traditional publishing. Like for like a big company like IDW Publishing, when we knew we had a hit, we'd go like 15, maybe 20% if we knew that the retailer's like, oh, you guys didn't order enough, kind of thing. And then if we knew it was something like, oh, we feel like the retailers probably hit exactly where they needed to, we'd do like maybe a 5 or 10%, just kind of sort of the same thing, where it's like there's not like a hard and fast rule, right? It's kind of like there's still a little bit of gut check in there somewhere. It's like, oh, like when Kanto came out, when we published Kanto, like internally, everybody knew the Kanto was going to be a thing, right? But trying to tell retailers, hey, this is going to be a thing, it was hard to convince them.
Yeah.
So we knew, oh, this thing's going to hit. So we did a big heavy overprint on the first initial print run. We ended up blowing through it like immediately, though. We still weren't able to fulfill the order numbers, but it was a gut check where I was like, no, this is so good. People are going, once people see this, it's gonna really blow up. Whereas other things, maybe it's like, okay, hey, look, we've got Peach Momoko's doing a cover for the new Crow series. We know that that's going to do better than people realize. This was like early in Peach's career, but we knew that Peach was going to be a thing. So, but we also have history around Crow. So it's like, okay, well, we're going to do a little bit. We're going to be aggressive, but we're not going to be super aggressive, right?
Sure.
It's all gut check stuff. That's interesting that you're going that big on the number ones, though. That's really cool.
Well, it's sorry.
Cover A, though. I don't want to get the wrong impression here as far as the special things. For variants, I would definitely recommend creators go closer to the number. Like, for example, if I did a variant, I would usually do between 20 to 30 copies extra, just because, some books get damaged along the way. I want to make sure that my team has a copy, that I have a copy, and that we could maybe have 10 extra to eventually sell as an add-on drop through future campaigns. But I would not go nearly as crazy as I would with the cover A's.
Yeah, for my campaign, that's definitely what I want to do. I just want people that like jumped in early to, like, if one of those like super cool variant covers that we're making for that first campaign, like, hey, then you're the people that are going to get it. Like, and we're not going to really make any more of these. But that main cover, the cover that Rolo did, like, yeah, I'm definitely going to have, like, I want to have a lot of those available, to your point, because when book 2 comes out, I want to make sure that there's a reading copy of the first one available for people. It makes perfect sense to me. Pat,
I just want to call out real quick. BMD Nerd, thank you for backing the campaign. You have another entry into our drawing at the end of the stream. So anyone out there that's watching that has not joined Super Kaiju Rock and Roller Derby Fun Time Go yet, go and back the campaign. The link is in the comments, and you'll get another entry in to win a sketch card.
Yeah, thanks so much. Appreciate that. What else, Murphy? How long are we supposed to go tonight? 4 hours?
And yeah, 4 hours. Yeah, exactly. Until the sun goes down behind you. David, are you working on, what do you have? Do you have any, are you only working on your own projects now, or are you still doing stuff for Zenoscope?
Oh, Pat.
Oh, me?
Oh, I said David. I'm sorry, Pat. Yes.
No. It's all good. Am I working? Yeah, I'm mostly me. Yes, but still work for hire. I'm a lot pickier with work for hire these days. But the truth is that Zenoscope is both family and fun. I worked with them for so long. They still bring me out to their fan events that they do every year. One in Philly and one on location. This year they did Vegas, and it's like a mini convention where we meet readers and collectors, and it's just so fun. So I have definitely, I took about a 4-year break, and then I came back to Van Helsing, and every now and then I do one-shots here and there, and it's just so fun. Like their universe of, people think it's fairy tales because of the name. It makes sense, but really they have this fun action, dark fantasy, horror themed shared universe, and I love to work in there. The characters are great, and they're just fun guys to work with. And how they do it, they have their own writer's room. They give you the outline, you get feedback, and go to script. It's just a really different process that's very fun for me. So that I do, and I do other work for hire here and there. But for sure, my main focus is my stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Pat, do you have any desire to work at like Marvel or DC, or do you feel like you're scratching the creative itch the way you want to?
I would, I'm definitely less hungry about it, because I had this moment where I saw CB Cebulski. He was at Fan Expo Philly last year, and I had this moment where I looked at his table and he was surrounded. It felt like the scene in Lion King when Scar throws the zebra leg and the hyenas just swarm. And in the past, my thought would have been, I can't wait to get my chance to talk to him, And this time, I looked at him and I was like, "Oh man, I feel bad for him. He needs someone to get him out of here right now. So he actually ended up coming to my table to talk to me about my books at Black Mask, and that was so cool. But I remember that moment, that shift where I moved from kind of like being so hungry for my chance to looking at it where like I felt like I had emails in my inbox from artists that were doing the same thing, and I felt for him in a different way, So I definitely moved away from the work for hire hunger, but I'm interested for sure. Like they have great books. They build this sort of modern American mythology. It's cool stuff for sure. And I did work on Marvel novels back in the day. In 2016, there's this company called Joe Books, and they were licensing Marvel for novels. And I did an Iron Man, a Guardians of the Galaxy, a Thor, and an Avengers. And we were supposed to build...
prose? You were doing prose?
Yeah.
Fat.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're just like, oh yeah, I could do that too. If you want me to do the prose, I'll just do the prose. How many words you need? 20,000?
Oh yeah.
How do you did somebody? How does that even happen?
You just broke David.
You did. First of all, thank you, Livingston. I appreciate that. And Antonio, thank you so much. And again, BMD Nerd, thank you so much. Truly appreciate you guys. But what? Come on. Like, did they come to you or did you go to them and just be like, had you written prose before?
Yes. So I got my start. My first ever published gigs were short stories.
Murphy, I don't think you like Pat is a unicorn, right? Like this is like I don't think like this is why Pat is 52 Kickstarters deep and doing what he's doing, because the dude's a unicorn. Like people don't just work in comic books and publish their own stuff massively successfully. And also, oh, by the way, I do prose occasionally when I feel like it.
Not just that, but like Marvel. Avengers prose.
For Marvel.
It was fun. It was fun. I my way toward that was very strange because when I started, I had done a few short stories, got those published, and I was working in theater. So I was writing, scripts for off Broadway, and we were, putting those on. And that was appealing as a credit to show that I could do multiple different kinds of writing. But beyond that, the reason that I got that was so backwards. So Zenescope had the license for the Charmed comics, and that was what I approached them about first. I had just done Angel, that 2-pager at IDW, and I showed Zenescope my work, and I said, "Hey, you guys have Charmed. If you ever want to do a one-shot, I know that you have the main book that you're building, but you want to do a one-shot, I'm happy to do it." And at the time, I didn't know this. They were actually going to do a second season, and we're looking for a new writer. So I got that gig early on, and then they brought me on to do other books like Robin Hood and their Grimm stuff. But eventually, that gig came to fruition, and I wrote Charmed for 20 issues. Season 10 it was called. And I was approached by the editor from Zenescope, Paul Roditis, who wrote season 9. He moved on to Joe Books, that company in Canada who had the license for Charmed novels. So he came to me and asked me if I was interested in writing Charmed novels, because they all took place during our comic book seasons. So I said yes. I wrote 2 of those for Joe Books, and they never came out. The license got fumbled. I don't really know what happened there, but they were sitting on those 2, and I guess they enjoyed the books and wrote to me a long list of licenses that they had, and among them were the Marvel books. So I asked to pitch. I made my selections, and I pitched on Iron Man. They greenlit that, and as I was working on Iron Man, I remember it was Thanksgiving. The they wrote me asking, how about Guardians 2? I didn't even pitch for it. They just offered it. So I was like, yep, yeah, I'll take Guardians 2. So I did those two. And then this was all within like 5 months because the deadlines for the novels were less than 30 days. So I would write the full novel, get it off to them, and then they'd be ready for the next one. And this is so crazy. The plan was to start building a universe of Marvel novels, because it was this sort of vague in between where the novels had to never contradict either the comics or the movies. So they had to be their own sort of vague universe. They wanted to take what I had done in my novels and build out a phase 2 universe from that, because they had originally done a few novels that weren't connected, but I began to build connections in mine, and they wanted to do that. And then as I was doing Thor, which would be the end of that first phase, they lost the license. The company went out of business, and I didn't.
We have a question in the comments. BMD Nerd asks, do you think creators should offer at least digital copies on a store between campaigns, or does that hurt funding more than it helps? I personally think it's as soon as you have a campaign completed and you've got everything shipped, like especially if you're overprinting, your main cover to have at conventions, like having some type of online store is super useful. I've always had digital versions of ours, but that's because like we have them for the campaign. Why would I not then like upload those to the site? It's having your own, having your own storefront for even just a couple items is just a great way to promote yourself. And it's nice to have some place to send people that like is like, here's all of it,
I agree.
Yeah, I feel like if people want, some people do, again, this is again like kind of against what I'm saying, like how I really want people to have the print version. I do understand that people like to consume things in a digital format, right? Like I love reading comic books on my iPad, right? It's like almost exactly like a 1-to-1.
Mm-hmm.
So like just like Marvel, DC kind of comic books, like I love reading them on my iPad. So I think you have to kind of make that available, right? Because otherwise people are just going to pirate it because they're going to get it the way they want. And so just make an affordable version in the format that they want. So I think you kind of have to. I know that I will definitely be doing that as well, I think. Yeah. So Pat, I want to go back to this novel thing real quick. So, okay. How many words were these novels?
Oh boy. I think that the lowest one was 50.
And you said you were cranking that out in like 30 days?
Yeah.
You had to crank. So I'm friends with Jonathan Mayberry, who is a prolific writer, won 5-time Bram Stoker Award winner, done some amazing work. He had a TV show on Netflix called V Wars, which I was directly involved with, and a fantastic human being. And Jonathan writes for a living, obviously. He's a prose author, does comic book work as well. And he averages about 10,000 words a day in his prose writing. 10,000 words a day.
Crazy.
And I was like, I don't think I say 10,000 words in a week. I have no idea how you guys can do that. I just don't have it in me. I am so blown away by that. You were doing 50 to 60,000 words in 30 days. That's just like, I literally don't say that many words like in a month. I don't know how you're writing that much. That's crazy to me.
Looking back, it was crazy because, man, there was this one time, and I tried to prepare for this because I was moving from California back to New York, and I had just got the Charmed gig, the novel, and at the time I was still working with Zenescope on their ongoing series. I had Robin Hood ongoing, I was on my Grim Fairy Tales run ongoing, and Charmed ongoing, and we had different miniseries here and there. My low end of books per month for them was 5, high end was 7. So at the same time, I was driving across the country, working full time for Zenescope, and writing this novel with the pressure of I had to prove to Zenescope that I wasn't going to go slack on them while doing the other work for hire. Because for a long time, my contract said I was exclusive. So I had to say, hey, I'm exclusive, but this isn't competition. So the question became, is it going to drain my time away from Zenescope? And I was like, listen, no. My personal life, yes. But Zenescope, no. I'll make sure that we're all good. So
no personal life, I think was where you were at that point.
No, that's why he hired all of them.
Exactly. No, that's literally the truth. Yeah, like I'm so happy to see them again, you know. But yeah, the pressure was definitely big as far as that goes. It got easier as time went along because that was also my first time writing prose again for a long time. That was my main source of writing growing up. And then when the comics hit, they really hit hard, you know. I became exclusive for Zenescope very quickly, and my initial deal, later on I became salaried, but my initial deal was still work for hire. So I would get paid as I took on more work. So I wanted all the work, you know? So it quickly went from I do all kinds of writing to I do just comics to no, I'm back to doing a bunch of different shit again. So I had to make sure that I could handle it, you know?
So when is your movie coming out?
Hey, hopefully someday. You know, we have Destiny New York is optioned for TV by Sony. It's being produced by Tegan and Sarah, and that we scored last year, and then the strike hit.
Oh man,
that you know, I hope it goes smoothly. We're making some steps forward. I'm producing that, and I would love to at some point write for film and TV. You know, that would be great. But as of now, nothing yet. But fingers crossed, you know.
I'm gonna chime in real quick. I'm gonna give everyone, you got 5 minutes, and then we're gonna do the drawing. So either comment on the video. If you go add to your pledge or pledge for the first time to Super Kaiju Rock and Roller Derby Fun Time Go, you get entered in to win I'm gonna show this again real quick because it's been a minute. These are a head sketch. It's a sketch card that has there's 3 different characters that you could get on the other side. And it's going to have a custom head sketch by the interior artist Rolo. So all you got to do is comment on the stream, add to your pledge, or pledge for the first time, and you will get entered in to win a sketch card. And Antonio also went and pledged to the campaign. So thank you very much.
Beautiful.
Yeah, Rolo's. I said this on somewhere else recently, but Rolo only works digitally these days. So he used to work traditionally pencil and ink, but now he works almost exclusively digitally. So getting an original piece of art from Rolo is a hard thing to do. And then when you add it on top of the fact that it's on a limited edition sketch card, there's only 25 of them. It's pretty cool. Hopefully, I think people think that's cool. I think it's cool. I want one.
I think it's cool.
Well, they're also oversized cards too. Like they're like the almost as tall as a comic, right?
Yeah, they're really cool.
That's sick.
Any other exciting things coming up for either of you guys, whether it be Kickstarter, new books, new projects at all?
Yeah, you know, speaking of Zenescope, on my end, I'm going to launch a new imprint of my company, Space Between Entertainment. It's called Wise Guys Comics. I'm pairing with Ralph Tedesco, who is one of the co-creators of Zenescope. He's going to co-write the first title with me. The first title is the self-titled company book. It's called Wise Guys #1. It's going to be a parody of mafia-themed TV, movies, you know. It's going to be very fun, light, and silly. You know, we have this one story, Mobworks, which is gangsters from your favorite TV and movies going to a school to learn how to do magical crime. And the covers are going to be fun, spicy, and sort of a tie-in to that Zenescope vibe. So that's going to come up next in mid-May.
Nice. That's exciting. Congratulations on that, Pat. That's awesome.
Thank you.
For me, I'm just making Super Kaiju Rock and Roller Derby Fun Time Go. I'm just really enjoying working with Rolo on this project and all the other artists who have been contributing their talents. And I'm sort of just I guess laser like focused on this, and just trying to enjoy it as much as I can, enjoy the entire process. I'm sort of banking on the fact that if I'm having a good time, then everybody who's kind of like joining me is going to have a good time too. So I'm just trying to focus on that. I am still doing some consulting, but that's boring. Nobody wants to talk about all the back end publishing nonsense business stuff. That's real work.
I mean, it's cool though. It's definitely part of it. When I consult on Kickstarter, I love seeing those campaigns do well. Recently, Terry Moore has been on Kickstarter, and I've been consulting there, and he's
doing great.
Oh my God, he is. I was telling him he is the ideal creator for Kickstarter. The more he does there, the better, both for me as a fan of him and also just the overall Kickstarter market.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a big fan of Terry Moore's stuff, and I think Kickstarter he's definitely like a creative talent can handle Kickstarter and who's definitely going to, I think, benefit from Kickstarter. Oh, look at this. Man, that's a very limited amount of people for a $150 item.
All right. Yeah, this is the last chance on my countdown. You have 1 minute left. Go comment on the stream or add to your pledge.
Yeah, somebody's stoked right now. How did you do that, Murphy? Murphy, shout out and props to Murphy, who's been my guru when it comes to Kickstarter. Even though I've done some of this stuff in the past, Murphy has really been helping me make it all make sense and handling everything from graphic design to helping host live streams. So thank you, Murphy, for everything you're doing. Appreciate you.
No, I appreciate being a part of it. If you haven't gone through and read through the campaign, this has been one of the most fun ones I have ever done. It's all from the perspective of the girls' band manager, Momo. And to be able to get in and kind of the whole thing is just from he's speaking to the Kickstarter backers. And it was just so fun to do. And there's little quips and jokes here and there. I had a really fun time with it.
Yeah, you did a great job. I'm really happy with how it all looks.
All right. Oh, we got 2 more entered in. All right. You got 20 seconds.
Should we add Pat's name in there? I feel like he's competent. No, we probably can't do that, huh? Can we put my name in there?
You didn't comment on the stream?
Oh, dang it. That's what happened last time. That's twice in a row.
All right. Are you ready? Let's go. Matthew Cole, you came in. You're the last comment on the stream, and you are winning a sketch card. Congratulations,
dude!
Make sure you go and back Super Kaiju Rock and Roller Derby Fun Time Go in order to get your prize. Pat, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This was a really fun time. It almost landed on you, Antonio. It was so close.
It was so close. Yeah, I didn't want to say, but I was like, yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming and hanging out with us tonight. In case y'all haven't yet, check the pinned comments on the stream. Super Kaiju Rock and Roller Derby Fun Time Go ends on Tuesday. There are 3 different tiers where you can get one of those custom sketch cards by Rolo. They are awesome and they're limited. And then also check out Wild Wisp #1 by Pat Shan on Kickstarter. You've got just about 2 weeks to join that campaign. So thank you all for watching and coming tonight. And thank you again, Pat, for hanging out with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. You're both awesome.
All right. Well, bye, everyone. Have a good one.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you all. Thank you.